Hello and welcome to our May 3-Tier-3 series event, GenAI Prompts and Privacy. I'm Allen Falcon, CEO of Cumulus Global, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day and week to join us here live for our event or for watching the recording of this on demand. I'm happy to say today I'm joined by a special guest as we talk about generative AI and getting the most out of it. But before I introduce him and our guest and get into the content, a couple of reminders that as with all of our sessions, we mute the audio to avoid any background noise from getting in the way. So at any point in the time, if you've got a question or a comment, feel free to click on the icon along the top or right-hand side of your screen. These sessions are designed to run 20-25 minutes, so we have plenty of time for Q&A at the end, and we can certainly stay on longer if the questions are there. As with all of our web events, the sessions being recorded, we generally get them posted onto our website within 24 hours. We'll also send you an email with the link to that recording. Feel free to share. This webcast is one of many resources we offer in the Resource Center on our website, including you can sign up for our monthly newsletter. We now do weekly bulletins focused specifically on Microsoft and Google Cloud solutions for small business. Sometimes those are feature updates, sometimes they're new product announcements, always relevant information. And of course, we have an event calendar and our blog. So with that out of the way, I want to welcome Mike Grossman from Mike Grossman Consulting, founder and owner of a really great boutique digital marketing agency here outside of Boston. Mike, why don't you say a little bit about yourself?
Oh yeah, sure. Hi everyone. My name is Mike Grossman. I have a background as a software engineer, and more recently I started my digital marketing agency, and I've been working with Alan. And it's been great working with him, and thank you for having me on your show.
Well, we're definitely glad to have you here. And I invited Mike to join us today because of the hundreds of small business owners I know who have started working and using generative AI. Mike really developed a system and an approach to prompt that myself and my team have found really, really helpful, and I wanted to share that with you. So today we're going to talk about two aspects, as the name of the webcast implies. We're not just going to talk about prompts, we're going to talk a little bit upfront about privacy. And that really gets into how you make sure that your use of AI is secure, particularly if you've got confidentiality requirements, either from industry or government regulations, or even the contracts you have with your vendors or customers or business partners. So what tools you select and how you use them is pretty important to making sure you keep information private and you don't violate any non-disclosure, confidentiality, or information protection requirements you may have. So we'll talk about that quickly, and then we'll jump into prompts, how to build them. I told the story to my peer group earlier today where I was talking with a business owner who told me he loved GenAI. I asked him how long it takes him to get an email worked out. He said, well, I might have to use 3 or 4 prompts and refinements. So it takes about, it takes a few minutes, maybe sometimes like 8 or 10 minutes even. And then I asked him, well, how long does it take if you just opened, hit new mail and wrote the message yourself? He said, oh, that would take less than a minute, right? So we want to make sure if you're using GenAI, it's helping you work more efficiently. It's not getting in the way. And a lot of that is around structuring prompts. We'll provide 2 levels of structure for you, and we'll actually run some videos, and Mike will walk us through some great demos. And then, of course, that Q&A, we can discuss that in more detail as you have questions. So that said, before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about how GenAI works. Mike, you want to take this one?
Sure. So over the last few years, there have been some really incredible advancements in generative AI. And basically, at a really high level, the way it works is that the AI has to be trained in order to give good results. And so that process requires taking large amounts of data and feeding it into the AI and then monitoring the response you get from it. And then based on that response, you fine tune the AI system and you continue to train with data. And once you get the outputs that you're looking for, people can start to use it. So just keep in mind that these data sets and the operators who train the AI might have some inherent bias, there might be inaccuracy. And so we have to think about those things when we get results from these tools. And so, overall, when it's a lot of fun to use the AI tools, we want to make sure that you're being productive and that you're using the right prompts to find the right information. But again, just be careful with what you get from it and make sure you have some oversight in how it's used.
Okay, great advice and great background information. And so when we talk about privacy and security around AI, a lot of that, as I mentioned, really goes into the primary tools you choose to use and the secondary tools. And when it comes to primary tools, there are really three levels: free, paid, and integrated. And if you hear about chat-gpt, the basic chat-gpt tool that's free is a great example of a free public tool. It's based on publicly built and publicly available, large models, and it's typically time limited on data. So the data is not going to be as current. The training won't. What's available based on the training won't be as current. And really, because you're not paying for it, you need to assume that you are the product. And what that means is that your prompts and everything you put in is being used to train that AI model, meaning it is a public disclosure. And so if you share information about a client, or you're a doctor and you're putting information about a patient's case to do a query into the system, you are, by using a free AI tool, inadvertently publicly disclosing that information, which can be a big problem for most businesses. Then you can get into paid. There's a paid version of ChatGPT. It's not tied to any other systems. It makes the model secure. You get more current data sets. They're updated more frequently. You'll get enhanced features as far as the user interface, making it easier to build prompts, to remember them, to refine them, and refine results. Oftentimes, there's enhanced imaging capabilities or other creative capabilities in the tool as well. And more importantly, most, not all, but most of the paid AI services are contractually obligated to keep your data private and secure. And meaning that unless you opt in, what you're using and what you're providing and feeding into the models isn't being used to train the models. And so the information you put in, the information you get out, is private and stays private. The next level, which is the most sophisticated in many ways, is the integrated. This gives you every capability of the paid model, plus it's designed to integrate with apps and services. And the two most common for small and mid-sized entities in this space are Copilot and GenAI. Copilot is part of the Microsoft 365 environment. There's a Microsoft Dynamics version, and there's a version that, or the capability, you subscribe with Microsoft 365 or through Microsoft Dynamics, it also integrates with your Edge browser. Similarly, GenAI integrates with Google Workspace. And if you log into Chrome with your Google Workspace account, it'll integrate with your Chrome browser. And in addition to getting everything you get with the paid model, both of these tools will connect with your information and your data within the Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace environment. So it will use your documents, your emails, your chats, your calendar entries, your sites, your teams, your SharePoint environments as sources of data to learn and to provide feedback. It also means you can prompt based on information that's in your account. And this is where the tool gets really effective for business. So with Copilot and Microsoft 365, for example, you can open up Outlook in the morning and you can say, can you summarize my unread emails for the morning? And it'll provide you a summary and suggest prioritization based on past patterns. A lot of powerful stuff there. When we talk about secondary tools, we talk about other types of add-ons or other tools you might use. And so, for example, we see a lot of folks, particularly those using Zoom, will bring in a third-party AI tool to take meeting notes and do summarization. Now, you can pay for Zoom to do that. They've got an AI tool built in that's integrated. You can use a secondary tool. Some of those are free, again, the risks. Some of those are paid. But we also see interesting applications where folks might like the generation capability of Copilot or Gemini AI, but then choose to take what it generates and throw it into a paid version of Grammarly and use that tool's AI engine to refine, better refine tone, scope, intent, or voice. So whenever you look at secondary AI tools, The first thing we always recommend is avoid duplicity unless there really is a functional difference that you need, because otherwise you're simply paying for the same thing over and over again. And make sure that that tool is a paid tool or integrated so that it remains secure. I covered a lot of ground there. And so as we get into what this looks like and how you can use it and some use cases, we could have done this with either Gemini AI in the Google Workspace environment or Microsoft Copilot. Mike and I chatted about it. We decided, what, let's go with Copilot today. And so we're going to do our demos and our discussion. We'll be talking about Copilot, but what the concepts we're talking about apply to any generative AI tool. And a reminder, with Copilot, there is a free version. It uses chat-gpt. It's standalone. Anyone can go to copilot.microsoft.com and start using it. But we're really going to focus on the version that has the Microsoft 365 integration. That actually gives you an icon and a direct sidebar tool in Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, Edge, the browser, pretty much all of the Microsoft desktop and web-based apps. It's secure. You're using your Microsoft 365 data, both as a target as well as a source of learning. You've got enhanced natural language prompts because you can, the business chat and the back end processing of Microsoft Graph and some of the other Microsoft 365 tools. You get significantly enhanced image generation. And it's not using chat-gpt, it's using chat-gpt 4 Turbo, the most powerful, the most current, the most feature-rich instantiation of chat-gpt. And it does come with that cost of $20 per user per month. And so that's how we're focusing and why, and some of the capabilities of Microsoft Copilot and how it fits in. Mike, why don't you take it away and start talking about prompts?
Sure, thanks, Alan. So again, the hope is with your prompts, you're going for productivity and accuracy with the results. And prompts are really just instructions or questions that you ask Copilot to answer in a certain way. And so Microsoft actually published these 4 styles of prompts that you can look at, or prompts that use these 4 categories. And so the first part of the prompt is the goal. What do you want Copilot to do? And the next part of the prompt is context. Why do you need it and who is involved? And then expectations. How should Copilot respond to best fulfill your request? And then source. What information or samples do you want Copilot to use? And you don't have to use all of these, but the more information you provide in your prompt, the better you're going to get a response. So, okay, next slide, please. And so, for example, with using the goal, context, and expectations from the last slide, I came up with a prompt that says, draft an outline of a seminar about digital marketing trends in 2024. Our audience is professionals who work in marketing, and the tone of the seminar will be informative but not salesy. So what I'm going to do is take this prompt and put it into Copilot, and we'll get a result. Next slide, please. So here's a quick video I put together showing how this works. So I basically copied and pasted the prompt into Copilot, and I clicked on submit. And then immediately we get a response from Copilot. And as you'll see, it has different topics for a seminar, and it returns these results very quickly. Keep in mind, we want to be careful about accuracy for the answers that we're getting. And Copilot provides citations for some of the information. So we can see here, there's a sentence that's underlined. And if we highlight that, it shows us that this came from the Digital Marketing Institute website, which is great. And then at the bottom of the response, we see that there are other citations, also from medium.com, Forbes.com, and a couple others. And since this is a Copilot, we can export directly to Word, and that only takes a moment. So this was sort of the general suggestion from Microsoft on how to prompt Copilot. I've come up with another way of doing this kind of prompt using a prompting tool. And so the difference with this prompting tool is that it basically has categories that you can use to put together a very specific prompt. And the categories include a command, qualifier, thing, tone, the perspective, goal, that also, and more. And in the next slide, I can show you exactly how that works. So basically, across that top row, we have the different categories for the prompt, and then we're going to take a value in each of the columns to put together our more advanced prompt. So for example, we could say, you know, for the command, you could have write a, or write code for, or translate this. And then in the next category, we would have something like suspenseful, emotional, or compelling. And the third column is the thing. So it could be sales letter or email. And then the tone can be persuasive, urgent, enthusiastic. And this is from a perspective of a customer, competitor, an expert, or storyteller. And then the goal of the prompt is sells or makes it easy to buy, creates a sense of urgency. And then the last three categories, you can include, one of them is including anything, any person, any qualifier without upsetting people, or that also any other qualifier. So the last three categories you might not need, but I put together a prompt using this tool, and it was, so again, the terms and the brackets, those are just the categories. We won't include those in the prompt, but here to show you how the prompt looks, it says, so the prompt says, generate a short outline for seminar on digital marketing trends in 2024 with a serious tone from an SEO expert who informs without being salesy. So I took this prompt and I put it into Copilot, and we can compare the output to what we received in the first prompt. And you'll see here in the bar, dropped in the prompt, clicked on submit, and then we get the same style of response from Copilot, where it has topics for the seminar. You'll see again, there's the citations at the bottom. Digital Marketing Institute is one of them. If we hover over the underlined text, we'll see that this is something that's been cited by Copilot. And so overall, what I found was that this response that I got from prompt number 2 was more advanced. It was more specific, and it seemed like more in line with what I'd be actually sharing with people. Again, you know, when you do these prompts and you get the response, you need to make it your own. You need to verify all the information. You need to check for accuracy. And just in general, keep in mind that the data set you're using for the tool you're using might be somewhat dated. So you're not going to expect information that's completely current. So Copilot has knowledge until April 2023. And so that's just something to consider when you do these prompts. Realize you might not have access to that information quite yet. And so, again, just to summarize what I said before, make sure you review and verify the responses you get. You know, even if you enter the same prompt, you know, more than once, you're going to get a different result back each time. So keep that in mind. You can continue to fine tune your prompts, and you can make progress that way. But at the end of the day, you just want to have the productivity in place. You want to have the accuracy in place, so you don't have to spend a lot of time worrying about the information that you're getting and sharing with people. And also, like I said at the very beginning, the way these tools are built using large data sets, you have to consider, where does that data come from? How accurate is it? And if there's a bias that you can mitigate when you revise and update the information you get in response.
Okay, that's a pretty great overview and some great examples of how to do prompting. I'll point out that the this afternoon, earlier today, we added to the library in our resource center an ebook version of this prompting tool that explains how to build the prompt, explains the categories, and provides a slightly expanded list of values for each of the categories that you had on your table earlier. And so as we send out the link to this webcast view on demand, we'll include a link that people can get their hands on that ebook as well and keep it for a great reference. And so, and that's a great next step, and when we think about using AI and using generative AI, one of the things we always ask is why, when, and how will you use it, right? Where is it appropriate? Where it's going to help individuals or teams be more productive? Where might it get in the way? In understanding that, so it might be that you're, in the example that, Mike, you went through, you created a seminar, right? It gave a great outline. As you start building detailed notes and presentation slides, you could use GenAI again. You could use Copilot again to help generate those more specific materials, right? And then you could use it to say, given the content of this seminar, suggest some social media posts to promote it, right? So what are some of the other use cases that you use?
Yeah, so I've used a tool called Beautiful AI to create PowerPoint slides for presentations. And again, like you mentioned before, with those secondary products, my workflow was to use chat-gpt to come up with a seminar and then move it into Grammarly to start to flesh out the different topics, and then create a prompt to go into Beautiful AI, which would create the slides. And I took the information I had gotten and put it in there. So that was the workflow, and it was very useful.
Okay, very cool. And so when you understand as a business, when you understand when, why, and how you're going to use GenAI, Mike's talked about tools he uses. You really want to plan that out, and you want to pick tools. You want your team members to try them. You want feedback on them, and you want to standardize so that your results are consistent. Your use of the tools are consistent. People aren't just downloading or accessing some free tool on the web that's not secure, or that isn't safe to use, because there are AI tools that really aren't safe to use. They're just as any great technology can be used for good, it can be used for evil. And so you really want to plan what tools in your environment and think about those workflows and where it's going to add the most value. And then when you go to implement, I think it's important, Mike, I think you'll agree, to educate and train, to give people some guidance, to make sure that they're comfortable, that they understand the risks, understand the limits of the technology and the tools you're using, so that it helps and doesn't hinder or doesn't create problems. What was a reporter for Sports Illustrated got caught using AI to generate an article that was factually incorrect and plagiarizing other articles on the web, right? So, there's good use and there's not so good use. And as I mentioned, to help with this, we've got some additional resources in our library. We just added a primer for GenAI prompts. It's based on the content of this session here today. Also, we've got, it was originally published by Google. It's a prompting guide 101. It's specifically geared towards Gemini for Workspace and the capabilities of that tool at the current time frame. So if you want to learn more, if you want some guidance, if you want help with this process, you can reach out to Mike. He offers a free 30-minute consultation, not just about helping with AI, but about website, search engine optimization, digital marketing, really anything with your online presence that's public facing. And his contact information there. You can contact us as well here at Cumulus Global, set up a time with one of our cloud advisors. And so now's a great time. We've been up for about 25 minutes. We've been doing all the chatting. So if folks have any questions, hit that Q&A icon along the top or right-hand side of your screen. And we're happy to take any questions. At this point, I am going to go and step aside for just a quick second here and end the recording for those, so that the folks watching this on demand later or currently aren't stuck waiting for us to sit here and wait for questions to come in. So for those watching on demand, even for those live, thanks for joining us here today. We really appreciate you attending or watching, and hopefully this information was helpful and will just make you a bit more efficient and comfortable using generative AI in your day-to-day work.